It is now time for Inside the Tennis. I welcome Michael Shamus, Dave Riccio and Andrew Webster. Good to see you all this morning.
Likewise, Danica.
All right, well, plenty to discuss. Let's start off with the Taylor May decision and his suspension for what occurred last year. It all came out in court and the NRL made their decision this week. Did they get their decision for their suspension right or wrong?
You go.
Yeah. Well, hard to understand, really.
I don't get it either. I think they've tried to be a little bit cute. The NRL can do this sometimes where they try and get a little bit cute with the result. But I think it sets a really dangerous precedent for any integrity issues down the track about how they handle them and whether they suspend them around big games. Like, who's to say that it's not going to be the case around Origin? A club's going to make an application to have their players suspended for 2 matches if it's on the eve of the finals and they need to make the 8. I just think it's a really... I understand where they're coming from with it, but I just don't think it's feasible in rugby league.
Well, this is because it did happen so long ago and it's only... They've come to their decisions and their conclusion this long. You can understand why they feel that it is fairer, maybe, to give him the suspension at the start of next year rather than in a final series because it wasn't something that's just happened a week ago.
I agree with that. I think I'm the only one not outraged.
Yeah, I think you are the only one.
Well, I am, because I don't think it's got any bearing on the actual... Like, it's not an on-field incident. People are comparing it to on-field incidents, saying, Lindsay Collins, and making comparisons to players who missed finals. It was last October or November it happened.
But that's going to be always the case.
Yeah, I understand. So what does it matter when that timing is?
That's the court process.
That's how the court process goes.
I understand that. So it's the luck of the draw of the timing of it. So it's not that big of a deal. It could have dropped 3 weeks later.
Well, if it's the luck of the draw, then why doesn't he... Like, they've just come down, then you serve the 2 matches.
I get that it's a bad... I take what you're saying. It's a bad look. When I read it, I saw the email, I thought, what's going on here? It never happens. I get that. But is it really that big of a deal? The guy's going to get suspended for something that happened 12 months ago. Does it matter when it is? If it's in next season, he still serves his ban. I get that it's not something that the NRL would normally do, but it's not an on-field incident.
The NRL claiming that the weight of a final series is too significant for what the charge represents, and so I still think it's a ridiculous call, but they could have at least found their middle ground by at least giving him one finals match.
Well, they should, exactly.
And then look at next season.
I don't even think he should have been suspended. That's the madness of it. I don't think he should have been suspended.
What, for yanking a bloke down and smacking his head on a concrete floor?
Well, the guy was being a pest all day.
The suspension needed to stand, Webby.
$1,000 fine from the court.
Yeah, but
look, I don't really. But we can go back and forth about that type of stuff. I think sometimes the NRL crosses the line or goes too far in suspending players for off-field behaviour when the court hasn't really come down on that hard. That said, if you're going to suspend him, I don't think you should be suspending the suspension.
So should it come down to this? Should the NRL have just maybe handled it differently in the fact that maybe they should have released their findings at the end of the season?
100%.
So then...
No one would have asked the question, Danica.
I don't know about that.
Asking the question would have been a controversy.
Come down. Like the decision from the court had come down. So what, they're going to put off for 6 weeks before they...
3 weeks. 3 weeks. They wait 3 more weeks and it would have been done and dusted. They could have handed down the...
Do you think Penrith will be out in 3 weeks?
Yeah, they're the grand finals in 3 weeks. Yes.
No,
not for when the
NRL couldn't have done that. They could not have bided their time. I could disagree with you. We would have been hounding their front door, asking what's the situation with Taylor May, like that. And...
Hello.
They needed to act accordingly. However, they've delayed the suspension for no reason. They needed to act now, not 6 months' time.
And now he gets a 1-game ban. Karma.
Yeah.
For the on-field incident.
Yeah. Cop that.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see when the next case arises.
But I can understand
if the NRL realise, because unlike one person over here, Michael Shamus, there has been widespread condemnation around this decision. So will the NRL continue down this path with similar cases in the future?
I think that the way that they're looking at it is finals compared to regular season. So if someone, the punishment's handed down middle of the season, they will get their punishment then. But I think what the NRL's perspective has been that the finals is weighted heavier. So a 2-week ban is not the same as a 2-week ban of the finals.
Well, then the judicial process needs to change also.
But they have changed the judicial system this year to make sure that players don't miss big games. I know that's for on-field, but the NRL's made an effort this year to make sure the best players are playing in the biggest games. Because I think Dale Finucane got charged last night, but he's free to play. In a regular season, he would have missed a game. So
All right, moving on.
It's all giving me a headache.
All right, the booing of Latrell Mitchell, we did see it at Allianz Stadium last week. Is it too much?
So long as it doesn't cross the line. You know, so long as it doesn't cross that personal, racial, religion line. Fans pay their ticket. They deserve to vent and express their emotions at a game of footy, as I said, so long as it doesn't cross the line.
I don't think this is racial based. I think there's a bloke who bashed one of their best players' heads in last year, left their club. Of course, the Roosters are going to hate Latrell Mitchell, and that's what the game needs.
He's a bloody good player.
And he's a bloody good player, and he plays for the arch rival, the Rabbitohs. Like, it's a perfect storm there, and as a game, you want that passion and you want the hate. It's what builds the interest. Now, as Dave said, it oversteps the mark, and then it's a problem. But they have every reason not to like Latrell Mitchell.
I agree. I think the comparisons with the Adam Goodes incident is crazy. I covered that whole sad story over 3 years in great detail, interviewed Adam about it. It's totally different circumstances. I think that, I've heard suggestions that, look, you can only boo a few times, not throughout the whole game. So given the nanny state that we now live in, they'll probably have like booing wardens, and they'll like say that's only 3. You're over your limit there. Like, I mean, he's a player who played for that club. Everyone knows the rivalry between it. The interesting thing for me today, and if Souths continue on in the finals, is just whether, now that they've talked about it and it's been a story all week, just whether the booing amplifies and it keeps going on. And that was the thing. And that was the thing with Goodes, is that, like, as soon as people started calling it out or started talking about it, then it became a real thing for rival fans to keep going. But as I said, what happened with Goodes happened for 3 years, and it was racially motivated because the booing started as soon as he called out racism in the middle of the MCG. This is different, I think, and I hope, because I'd hate to see Latrell, who's such an important character in this game, get booed out of the game.
You can't build your game on tribalism, hatred, local derbies, Souths versus Roosters, opening brand new stadiums. On those two teams were chosen for a reason to open that stadium. You can't build your entire billboard and promotion of your game and then ask fans not to invest in emotionally. 3 boos.
You're allowed to have 3 boos per player.
When South Sydney are playing other teams, you don't hear it. It is very, because of the rivalry with the Roosters. But speaking to Latrell during the week about it, and we're talking about when he's kicking for goal at the right on the sideline, and he can hear the crowd behind him. He actually says that he doesn't mind that. He turns around and he enjoys that part of it as well. But I do understand what you mean. It can sometimes amplify it the more that it is discussed. All right, Des Hasler, Manly, give us the scenario. What is happening at that club with Des's future?
How long have you got?
I think we've got 2 minutes and 1 second.
It's madness. Like, they walked out of the meeting and the Des camp thought the deal was going to be done for 2024. They were on track. The intention was for Des to be extended. And then Manly say a completely different thing. Like, as I said last week, they're playing a game of chicken to see who folds first. And Des, he might walk. And Manly, I don't think they want Des to walk, but I don't think they'll be upset if he does walk. Perhaps they're doing this to try and upset Des to get to that point where he's gone. I don't know. Who knows what's going on at that club?
It's not a particularly healthy sign where Tony Mestrov is the new CEO, been in the chair for, 5 weeks, and he's already bluing with the head coach. That doesn't sound like a very pleasant environment to walk in. I think it's very interesting that Daly Cherry Evans, thank God someone from Manly actually spoke on the record and forthright and answered some hard questions, publicly about it, because everyone else at that club seems to duck and weave behind the shadows and has their bit to say publicly, privately, but publicly they'll say something completely different. So good on the captain for actually getting up and talking about it.
My only thing is that what was the point of the meeting to only confirm a contract that Des already had for 23? I'd find it very highly unlikely that the Manly administration aren't aware that Des and his management team were there at the meeting to confirm a contract for 24. To deny
they've confirmed
to deny any knowledge of a contract being expressed for 24. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't begrudge Manly for having hesitation around extending Des Hasler for 24. Like, 22 was a disaster.
It'll do nothing for the start of their season
Dave,
to only know that Des is there for 23.
Stability,
First 6 weeks,
stability in this
spotlights
day
on
and age,
Des.
it means nothing. Look, the Dragons gave Anthony Griffin another year. It didn't stop the speculation all year. It's not going to end.
It's still going.
What's going to stop it is if they Manly win games next year. It's not going to stop it if they've signed him for another year. Because if they lose, it doesn't matter if he's got 7 years on his deal or 5 years like
Yes,
Anthony
it would.
Seibold. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it
Because they'll
would.
get rid of him. It's all about a pay-up. That's what it is right now. And working out, making sure that Des got stability for 24 in regards to a pay-up. Because at the moment, he gets sacked next year, it's all over.
What happens if he does? Like, who would take over Manly at the moment?
Who would?
Well, Billy Slater was on the short list. I think Billy would be perfect for that role.
I don't know whether Billy's.
Him and Freddie could coach together.
Daly came in today to suss it out.
Yeah.
with Joey as an assistant.
No, Freddie's nodding over there. Freddie's keen.
I don't think Joey would be wanting that role either. They're saying no. All right.
If they paid him $1 million, I reckon he'd
No, I don't think so either. I've asked him this many times.